Monday, we try to bring something new to you that is within the finance or Bitcoin space, just to try to illuminate you and maybe just teach you a few things that perhaps you didn't understand or know, or perhaps you were not even aware of about this world of finance that we live in. So today is not going to be any different. But before I proceed, generally Monday meetings are for affiliates. So I just want to point out some important household rules, perhaps some of the pointers that all of us need to know as affiliates. The things that we need to know. First of all, we need to know the RubyLux website. All right. So if you have, as an affiliate, if you haven't been on the RubyLux website, please just quickly visit the RubyLux website so that you can see what generally prospects see when we say they must go to rubylux.net. Also watch that video that we have on the landing page. It's a brief explanation of what RubyLux is, and they usually play it on the global presentation on Thursday. So please just go ahead, familiarize with yourself with the landing page and the website of RubyLux. And then number two, have that link ready that you need to use whenever you invite prospects to register and buy. So after the presentations, we would normally say to people that they need to go to the people that invited them to the presentation. So always have that link ready. The link is not automatic. It's not automatic. So you need to be able to tell your prospects to put your username, the one that you use when you log onto your back office, under the referrer name, right? So that's point number two. So don't wait, because some people, I don't know if you are aware, but you can ask people to register and buy packages already. We are running in terms of that. So be aware that that is something that is happening, and then take it forward. Okay. And then number three is what I'm going to focus on in the initial presentation, which is just to clarify something, because I understand that some people still confuse this subject. So let's clarify it, and then we will get into the rest of today's meeting. So Bitcoin is a very important platform that has been created. One of the most important and the greatest, possibly the greatest invention in human history, right? But it has been confused a lot because there's been a lot of scams, there's been a lot of confusion. Most people don't have an understanding of the internet or money itself, and therefore they struggle to understand this concept of Bitcoin. So number one, just want to clarify that Bitcoin is not a company, right? Bitcoin is not a business. Bitcoin is not a network marketing opportunity. Bitcoin is not a social media company. It's not an app. It's not a website, right? Most people are confused about it. So I just want to clarify that Bitcoin is a platform just like the internet. All of us know that the internet is not a business. The internet is not a company. It's not listed anywhere. There are no offices of the internet. Similar thing with Bitcoin. There's no office that you can go to say, I'm going to the Bitcoin office, right? Because Bitcoin is like the internet. It's a platform that has been created upon which we can build businesses and companies and products. Just like the internet. The internet is a platform of information, a highway of information that was created to enable people to exchange and share information across borders, right? In a quick and fast and efficient manner. And most importantly, in some instances, in a safe manner. So again, we'll go back to some of the biggest businesses that have ever been built in the internet space. Those are the businesses that we're referring to, but they are on the internet platform. Without the internet, those businesses would not exist. This is why a few years ago in South Africa, for example, we had a movement of people that were trying to say that the prices of data need to fall so that a majority of people can get access to the internet so that they can access those businesses that are built on the internet, right? So I just want to make sure that everyone is clear on that. Bitcoin is also similar to the internet. A lot of businesses are now being built on the Bitcoin platform. Microsoft is one internet company that is probably among the top 6, if not top 10 biggest companies of the internet in the world. 3 years ago, they decided that this Bitcoin platform seems to be a very strong platform. It seems to be gathering a lot of traction from a lot of markets across the world. And it seems like it's something they can use to develop their own product. So they decided that they're going to start building a product on top of Bitcoin, right? So when you look at a lot of companies that are are springing up with the name Bitcoin in them and telling you that they're using Bitcoin, whatnot, understand that those people are not representatives of Bitcoin. It's not like a political party where we have members. Bitcoin, just like the internet, it's an opt-in system. Those who want to be a part of it use it. They don't need any permission. They just need certain tools that they can use to access the internet, like cell phones, computers, and data, right? So those are the things that they would need to access the internet. Similar thing with Bitcoin. You can access Bitcoin through very many different means, but the main principle is that you need access to the internet for you to access Bitcoin. So that's where we start. Whenever, usually a few years ago when we started presenting Bitcoin to people, we would inform them, okay, that these are the following steps that you can follow to familiarize yourself with Bitcoin. The first thing that everyone does since the beginnings of Bitcoin, like in the 2010s, 2011s, 2013s, when people were introduced to Bitcoin, they were told, download a Bitcoin wallet, right? Because it's the simplest thing that one can do. You download it onto your phone. If you have data or Wi-Fi, you can just download the wallet into your phone and you are able to see how Bitcoin works. And you will realize that whatever wallet you're downloading, again, is not Bitcoin, but it is a platform that has been built. It's a company that has been built, which is centralized. We're going to get more into it because today I just want to make sure that everyone understands what Bitcoin is. So we would usually say to you, download a wallet. We have Luno, we have VALR, we have altcoin trader, we have local Bitcoins. There's a lot of Bitcoin wallets across the world. In different countries, there are many, many Bitcoin wallets. Today, especially, back in the day, maybe there was a few of them, but today there's a lot of Bitcoin wallets. So after you download the wallet, one thing you would have to register, you will realize that a wallet operates almost something similar in some instances to a bank. They will ask you for things like your proof of residence. They will ask you for your identity, your names, your cell phone number, the country that you live in, all those that basic information that you generally get asked even when you open a bank account, right? The whole idea behind Bitcoin is to eventually decentralize finance as a whole, which means people who currently cannot have a bank account because they don't have the above mentioned documents should be able to use Bitcoin. But at the current moment, the way in which we use Bitcoin still requires the same sort of documents that a bank would require you to open an account. Right? So that's a challenge, one of the challenges that needs to be solved by the Bitcoin system. And we have a lot of programmers and computer scientists that are operating within the system to try to solve such problems, right? Eventually, we want something that is similar to M-Pesa in some way, where almost any phone or any device can access the Bitcoin system, where a person doesn't need to have a proof of address. A person doesn't need to show their ID. They don't need to give their details in order to access the Bitcoin system and use it. Because at the end of the day, Bitcoin is trying to decentralize, not even trying, Bitcoin is built to decentralize finance, right? Now, the way that we know finance is one way. It has always been centralized. And because of that, and because of how banks operate, we found that about 2.5 to 3 billion people across the world, mostly in underdeveloped countries, were excluded from the banking system. So that's one of the main issues that most activists in the Bitcoin space try to solve, which is how do we make sure that we bring those people who have been unbanked for this many years into a finance space so that they can participate in the global economy. Because when you don't have access to finance, you won't be able to participate in the global economy. All right. So that's one of the things that I wanted to focus on. Now, we're going to go back just to try to explain again. Today, I really, really want to hit it on the head so that whoever is here can understand what Bitcoin is. Don't confuse it with the companies that have been around the world, the companies that have done whatever they've done. This thing of people calling Bitcoin a scam is, I want to get rid of it because some very important policy changes and moves are being made across the world, in our space in particular, that will have drastic consequences if we don't understand the importance of Bitcoin today, and if we don't spread the message of Bitcoin in a proper and responsible manner, but most importantly, in a truthful and accurate manner, so that when you tell people about Bitcoin, even in conversation, you are able to express it in its truest form without lying or unintentionally giving people the wrong information. All right. So some of the biggest scams in the world have actually been in the Bitcoin space. And I'm going to give you a few of them. Some of you will know them. There was a company called BitConnect, literally a company that was built on nothing, literally nothing, just to show that marketing is a very strong and powerful system, where if you have the best marketers who can talk the talk, and who can energize people, they can get people to do whatever they want, because people are lazy. All right, we need to be honest. People are extremely lazy. They are lazy to do research. They are lazy to look into things. And what's said is that people are lazy with the most important resources. So your most important resource after your life, after your family, is your money. But most of us treat our money very irresponsibly. It's a culture that we have developed. That's why when we get into spaces that we call investment spaces, we generally follow the noise and we never do our own research to understand what we are putting our money into. And that's why we normally end up not having any money, or living a legacy of debt rather than living a legacy of wealth, because we don't pay attention to understanding what investments are, why it's important to invest, how to go about investing, who to speak to when you want to invest, what regulations exist regarding investment in the country that you live in. So we as Rubilux, our big mission, because we are building a big global business, we want the people who will be at the foundation of this business, which are the affiliates, to understand exactly what we are doing, to understand the platform that we are operating in fully, so that whenever you go and speak out there, you represent Rubilux in a good enough manner, right? Without misrepresenting the platform upon which Rubilux is built, which is Bitcoin. So BitConnect is one of those. It just had very charismatic people. They were basically like politicians. They were just very big people, famous people who went around the world, did presentations. And another thing is they co-opt a system that is synonymous in some instances with with pyramid schemes, which is network marketing. There is a difference. Another thing, perhaps I should also clarify that alongside clarifying Bitcoin, that network marketing is not a scam, right? Network marketing itself is not a scam, but there is potential. There's potential to use network marketing so that you can sell scams to people. And pyramid schemes don't necessarily only exist in a network marketing platform. For example, one of the biggest pyramid schemes, which is by a gentleman in the United States, Benny Madoff, who had an investment business, one of the biggest and the fastest growing investment business back in the day, um, was not running a network marketing business. He was running an investment firm where it's a general investment firm that is operating traditionally. But whenever he gets his clients, he would advertise himself to get more clients and then use the money of the new customers to pay the people that were already there, right? Without basically having any product or investing in anything that was worthwhile, right? So that is a very important characteristic of a scam, a pyramid scheme. You have to really, really understand that there's nothing there. Like there's no product there. There's no service that is being offered. But some people are so good at building websites, so good at selling lies, that they'll make you believe that there's actual value that they're selling. For example, someone will tell you that they are selling an education package, that you will get training, blah, 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 and then you have to pay this stupid amount of money in order to do so. Now, I want you guys to also understand one thing, which is very critical and important. No one is too educated to be scammed. No one is too smart to be scammed. Being scammed, like I said, if you don't pay attention, if you're not very, very careful about where you put your money, you're generally going to get scammed, right? Uh, there was a big company in South Africa. Now I forget their name. It was also in the Bitcoin space about 2 years ago. I think it was 2018, if I'm not lying. And that business specifically targeted high net worth individuals, who a majority of which are degreed individuals. So educated, highly educated people who are professionals working, doctors, lawyers, all those kind of people, and some of them business people, people with a lot of money. Generally, we would know that, especially when it comes to network marketing pyramid schemes, they would generally target uneducated people who are desperate to make quick money. But in this instance in South Africa, there was a gentleman who came from America, bringing this Bitcoin thing to people, and he started selling it in these professional spaces where he was selling it to these well-educated people. People who you would think normally would take a second look at something before they put their money in it, right? But he ended up defrauding people of about almost 5 billion rands in a matter of a year and a half. It's very quick. The way he operates, again, if you understand how schemes and pyramid schemes work, it would be very easy for you to identify. They ask you to buy something or to give them money so that they can invest it somewhere. And then once you get that money, whenever you want to now withdraw, because after you give them money, they pretend like that money has grown by 30% in a week or a month, whatever lie they tell you. And then when you say, okay, can I withdraw my money? Then they ask for more money. I mean, immediately when that happens, you should tell yourself, okay, no, there's something wrong with this, right? You can't be saying to me, I need to pay you to get my money back, right? What am I paying you for? Because I've already bought a product in your company or in the service that you're offering, right? But these people kept on giving them money over and over again. They say, okay, no, you need to give us more money so that we can release the following funds and blah, blah, blah. And they would just keep with depositing money. Some people 6-7 times, like one lady, I think she gave them up to 10 million rands, just continuously giving them money with the hope that she will get the initial investment and its interest from giving them that money. And then those people lost their money. And another thing is, such things make governments say, you see, this is why we want to regulate Bitcoin and all these cryptocurrencies, right? Again, the reason why I want to explain Bitcoin today is because what happened in this instance, in the example that I've given, was not caused by Bitcoin. It was caused by ignorance, and it was caused by a criminal who saw an opportunity to defraud people and steal their money, knowing very well that most people don't care to research or investigate anything. As soon as someone gives them unrealistic guarantees, they are quick to run and give them their money, right? That's not a Bitcoin problem. That's a human problem. It generally happens. Scams have been there before Bitcoin, and generally they follow the same pattern, right? So those people lost lots of money. And again, because this gentleman was not a South African, as soon as he got the money, he left the country. And there's nothing that anyone can do because, I mean, where are we going to find that person? And then another one was OneCoin, very big. I think it was started by in 2016. Something similar also. The person who was made as the poster child of OneCoin was a very well-educated doctor, a lady who was very respected across the European world. And she was the one who went out there to present and sell this business. Now, if you're in the Bitcoin space, the first thing that you will hear that will tell you that OneCoin is irresponsible, is a lie, and will never be the truth, and is a scam, is this. They were calling themselves the new Bitcoin, right? Now, I don't know how many of these sessions you've attended, how many times you've listened to us speak, and how many times you've heard us explain Bitcoin. If you know just a small bit of what Bitcoin is, whenever you listen to that presentation given by OneCoin and them claiming that they are the new Bitcoin, you would know exactly that that is a lie. Now, what were they banking on? And what were they having so much confidence in to say to themselves, they can bring this thing that is really based on nothing and sell it? Is because of this very important concept that is defining the current financial sector or system that we live in, which is called fiat. And fiat is a Latin word, which I'm not going to be exact here, but it means something sort of like it explains that you need to have confidence, let it be. Now, governments and central banks decide what money is, or let me be specific, they decide what currency is. And then with that currency, you need to have confidence in the government, not necessarily in the currency. In about 1897, right, the first time I recall where there was almost a run on the banks because people still had a very great understanding of what money was. So they knew that US dollars, the paper, was not money, but gold was money. So something happened where the gold reserves in the United States government started reducing below a threshold that was identified that could keep the economy steady, right? And it was 100 million US dollars worth of gold that the government needed to have at all times in reserve. And then people heard that the government now had 90 million US dollars. And they were almost panicked and they wanted to go and take their gold out of the banks, right? Because they still had an understanding that money is actually gold this paper that we are given is a representation of gold. Today, we've lost that understanding completely. We operate on a system of trust, but we don't even know that we operate on a system of trust. We unconsciously just trust governments and central banks and believe that what they give us and what they put value on is what they tell us it is, which is this fiat system that is very loose, right? Now, not going deeper into that, I was just trying to show you that it's so easy, if you are not aware, if you don't take care, to listen to people who can manipulate you. Educated people, uneducated people, it's the same thing. When it comes to money, a lot of people are very well uninformed. They don't know anything about money, and they don't know anything about investments. Only a few people invest, and only a few of those who invest actually make money, right? So now, there is pyramid schemes. Those are some of the ones that are like the biggest, because, for example, one coin apparently took about 15 billion euros from people. Like, you have to understand, I guess, again, something that will also tell you about network marketing is the potential of network marketing to be very, very successful. When you have network effects, any business where you connect with people across the world without borders, it's very easy for you to make money. Now, imagine when you have a real platform, a real business, a real product that is life-changing, that gives value, and you use this network marketing system honestly. And you also accompany it with people who are charismatic, who care about what they're doing and the messages that they take to people. Those people will obviously represent the product or the business very well to anyone in the world, and you can bring a lot of people to come and build that platform. You can very well, in a matter of 5 years, build one of the biggest businesses in the world in network marketing. Businesses in network marketing don't fail like businesses in traditional marketing, because it's much harder to build a business by yourself and much easier to build a business with other people. Because with other people, you are able to lean on some people. And even though we have different drive and determination and belief systems, some people will always be a foundation of any business. Any business. And network marketing, we also focus a lot on getting people to develop that belief in themselves and in the product that they're selling. So it shows you, if a company can start in 2016 and then by the end of 2018 have amassed 15 billion euros, regardless of the fact that it's a scam, it means that it's very easy to get into people's hearts and into people's houses. And it also shows you one very important thing that I was referring to in my last presentation last week, Monday, which is the importance of money. A lot of people still to this day like to pretend like money is not important. And then they are the same people who will then fall victim to scams like the ones that I'm referring to, because they need money and they want to make money. And then one of the most surprising things to me when I got into network marketing is there are people who actually are in the space who know a scam. So they will know that this thing is a scam, but still go into it anyway, because those people just want to make money, right? There are those kind of people in the world where they know, the first time I heard about Triple M, I don't know if some of you people around the continent are aware of this thing called Triple M. It was a big thing in South Africa around 2014, 15, 16, I think. The first time I ever heard of that thing was when I got into network marketing. And I was like, okay. Someone explained it to me, and then I immediately told them, that's simple. It's a scam, that thing. Anyone can tell that this thing is a scam. And then when I heard how much money people had lost, I was shocked, because I was like, but this is very easy to tell that this thing is a scam. So how did people end up in the space? Again, people don't pay attention. But again, some people are aware that this thing is a scam. They're just praying to God and their ancestors that they are not the last people to get in and are unlucky. They're just hoping that I make it in time, and then hopefully there'll be a fool somewhere in the future who's going to give money to these people so that they can pay me. And then once this thing collapses, at least I will have made my own money, right? A lot of people, when you talk to them in network marketing, they'll tell you, yeah, we're very much aware that these things are scams. We're just trying to get in as early as possible and get out as soon as possible before it all collapses. Now, how many people are lucky in terms of their calculations, where you get in time and you get out in time, right? Okay, that's a discussion for another day. So that's basically what I wanted you to understand. Bitcoin is a platform. It's not a business. It's not a company. It's not a government organization. There are no offices of Bitcoin. So when someone asks you as an affiliate, but how can I join Bitcoin? That's one question I've been getting a lot of on Facebook since we posted that video last week. Like, no one can join Bitcoin, right? You can't join Bitcoin. You can participate in the Bitcoin platform in a way that I explained earlier. Simple. You download a wallet, you link that wallet to your bank, you take your currency that is from your bank, you put it into the wallet, and you convert it into the cryptocurrency called Bitcoin. What would be the point of you trying to do that? We explained again in last week's presentation what money and currency have as a difference, which is this inflation problem. The reason why you would take your currency and put it in a cryptocurrency such as Bitcoin is because you want to retain the value of your money so that that money over time can grow and eventually make you wealthy. So one of the things that is important to note is that although we encourage people to download a wallet and buy a little Bitcoin, we do that so that you can be familiar with it, know and see the Bitcoin system actually working, right? But the thing is, when you buy 10 US dollars worth of Bitcoin here and there, that thing is not necessarily going to make a major difference in your life. We are at a point where, as poor people, or as people without a lot of means, we can't really afford to not buy Bitcoin now. Um, one of my friends posted on Facebook that the Rockefellers are now buying Bitcoin. I don't know if you guys know who the Rockefellers are. They are called the fathers of banking, right? They are the ones who are basically in charge of the banking system in the world. They control how the financial system works, and they are the most powerful family, in my mind, in the whole world. And they've been in charge of banking for hundreds and hundreds of years, right? Now, generally, we would tell you that it's a good thing when people come into Bitcoin, but here's just a little example, and then you will understand it just a bit later when I explain how Bitcoin operates. So there's about 18 million or so, I stand to be corrected, Bitcoins that are already in circulation. And we all know that there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins to be mined, right? Now, why am I saying it's a problem when you have billionaires buying Bitcoin? It's too early for billionaires to be buying Bitcoin now because poor people haven't understood Bitcoin and haven't acquired as much Bitcoin as one would like them to acquire at this point for billionaires to buy it. Okay, let me break that down. Billionaires don't necessarily need money like we do, right? You need money to pay rent every month, to buy food, to buy clothes, and to spend on the general necessities of life every month. So that's why most of us never ever have disposable income. So you get your salary, and by the middle of the month, you no longer have it. That's why most of us don't have money, because we have nothing left over as we spend all the money that we have, the currency that we have, on the necessities of life. Billionaires generally don't need money because they are already covered when it comes to that. So when someone takes 5 billion and they buy something, they are doing so because they know that they can hold that thing for 50 or 100 years. Now imagine you and me are trying to earn as much Bitcoin as possible, and then someone comes into the market and they buy 500,000 Bitcoin. So they are reducing the Bitcoin that is available in the market at the current price, right? The current price is about 11,300 or 400 US dollars, which is still not affordable to a majority of people in the world, but it's much better because there are still ways, like for example, that we can use like Rubilux and other network marketing opportunities that are genuine that we can use to earn the Bitcoin. But now, as soon as you have I'll give you a simple example. Last week, I spoke about this gentleman, Michael Saylor, who invested 500 million US dollars of his company's money into Bitcoin, right? Now, when you have someone like that, that person is not going to sell the Bitcoin at any point. Like he's going to hold that because he knows the value in Bitcoin. Now, that means he bought almost 40,000 Bitcoin with that money. Now, that means that 40,000 Bitcoin is no longer in the market and is no longer available for us to buy or for us to earn in whichever way we use to earn that Bitcoin. Now, eventually, the more of these billionaires come into the market and buy this Bitcoin, the less Bitcoin is going to be available for us to earn as poor people. This is why today I wanted to understand how urgent it is for us to earn Bitcoin. But that's why I started explaining what Bitcoin is and what network marketing is in relation to scams. Because again, just because someone says it's urgent for you to earn this thing to acquire this thing. It doesn't mean you have to run around and take the first opportunity that comes to you without looking into it. Yes, it is urgent for us to earn as much Bitcoin as we need to right now, but it is also important to do it in the right way, because it can only be beneficial to you and your family when you approach it in the right way. If you don't, it will be devastating, right? Because you'll end up in scams. All right. So now a billionaire buying Bitcoin. Imagine Rockefellers have a lot of money. Okay. So it's not that easy to buy Bitcoin. That's the nice thing, because it's still a very nascent technology. It's not that old. People are still trying to find ways of buying Bitcoin without being reckless. Now, billionaires will obviously require systems that will assist them to buy Bitcoin without making noise. So at least that will delay them getting into the space, because they still have to develop those technologies that will allow them to put billions and billions of dollars into Bitcoin. At this point, it will be very difficult for anyone to just put 1 billion US dollars into the Bitcoin space and just buy a lot of Bitcoins, right? So we are hoping that we have a space of at least 3 years where we can acquire as much Bitcoin as we need to in order to have the independence away from these people. Because basically, in some ways, they can buy as much Bitcoin as they want to, and then eventually drive up the price so that Bitcoin can become extremely unaffordable to the normal working men. But a nice thing again about Bitcoin is that the higher the price goes in this period, the difficult it becomes for anyone to buy lots of Bitcoin at the same time. So you must get the message today that it's very important for you to do all in your power, if you understand and you agree with the importance of Bitcoin, to get as many Bitcoin as you want, right? All right. I hope that that is very clear. Now, let me just break down the Bitcoin thing, okay? Because we're not going to assume that everyone understands what Bitcoin is. Last week, we were just trying very hard to make sure that people understand what money is. And then we touched a little bit on Bitcoin as we were talking about the evolution of money. Now, this week, we're going to talk about this Bitcoin thing. So Bitcoin, again, just to do a little bit of a recap, is a project that was started in 1992 by the cypherpunks. People like Hal Finney, some of them are not known people because they were operating in the dark web, in the darkness, right? But in 1992, a group of people set about to come up with this system of money, which back in the day was called e-money or e-dollar or digital currency, right? And they were just trying to make sure that they can build the system to a point where it can work well and be adopted in a similar way that the internet was adopted. So you can see that from 1992 up until 2008, it's a very long period of time where people were doing investigations, building products, testing them, failing, building again, failing, building again, failing. And then eventually, this thing called Bitcoin was born in 2008, and it was actually a success. They launched it in 2009. Now, how does this thing work? First of all, what is it? Again, Bitcoin is a decentralized system, a decentralized platform similar to the internet. It is not controlled or owned by any government or central organization such as a business or a central bank. It is not owned by a single individual. Even the person who launched it into the system called Reddit, into the internet, Satoshi Nakamoto, does not control or own Bitcoin. So it's a peer-to-peer system of value, right? The first application of Bitcoin is money. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and break that down for you. So Bitcoin is a decentralized system, right? Usually you would hear us saying Bitcoin is money. The internet is a decentralized system of information. What was the first application in the internet? I told you guys this last week. It was the email, right? For a while, only the email was the thing that you could do on the internet until someone came up with the World Wide Web. Every time you go onto a website, you will see you'll type in www dot something. That www dot is a creation, is a product that has been built on top of the internet, which is called the World Wide Web. And it was able to say you can house information in the space, and then you can give access to people. That will allow you to advertise and all those kind of things. Now we have Bitcoin being launched in 2009. This thing is a platform of value upon which you can build products of value, not only products of information, right? On the internet, you could build Facebook, you could build MySpace, you could build Twitter, Google, where you can search for information, but you could not exchange value because the internet is not a system of value. Now, Bitcoin is a system where you can exchange value. Now, the first thing that comes to your mind when you speak of value is money. That's why the first application of Bitcoin is money. That does not mean the only application of Bitcoin will be money. As the future progresses and people learn more and more about the system and see what it can do, more things will be built on it, and it can be used for multiple other things because it's a multifaceted platform. A very important thing about Bitcoin is that in addition to being decentralized, it is also uncensored. So this means that no one can prevent you from using it. No one can prevent the system from operating. No one can stop the system from operating. No one can ban the Bitcoin system. People can ban you from using it, but they can't ban Bitcoin. Bitcoin is an operational system that will always continue to work, right? As long as the internet exists. All right. So the decentralization part of it is very critical and important. And one other thing that you need to note about Bitcoin is that it is programmable. Because it's based on mathematics and it's an algorithm, it means you can give it instructions, right? We'll expand on that a bit later. Now, Bitcoin is a decentralized system of value that is used by peers. Now, you can use it from peer to peer without any borders. So it's not only located in China or in the US, but it's a global system that is available to every single person who has access to the internet that they can use to exchange value. Now, ever since it was created today, many merchants across the world are accepting it when you're buying things. But back in the day, no one knew it, no one knew what to do with it. So here's how it works, the system. Again, I'm trying to answer this question of how do I join Bitcoin? You don't join Bitcoin, you use the system of Bitcoin. Now, here's how the system of Bitcoin works. It's a deflationary system. I was explaining last week that governments generally and central banks print a lot of money, right? A lot of currency. Okay, let's stop calling it money because I explained the difference last week. So governments and central banks create a lot of currency and then they put it into the system. That currency does something called inflation, which reduces the value of the currency that you have. Right? Now, Bitcoin is a deflationary system, which means instead of putting more and more Bitcoins into the world, the system automatically puts less and less Bitcoins in the world every 4 years. Now, 2009, the first Bitcoin block is mined, called the Genesis block on the 3rd of January 2009, right? The number of Bitcoins that you get, the way the system works is that Bitcoins are released into the world every 10 minutes. Now, it's not every 10 minutes from Monday to Friday, but it's every 10 minutes, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So every single 10 minutes, whether you're sleeping or awake, a certain number of Bitcoins are released into the market. Now, in 2009, 10, 11, 12, that first 4-year period, every single 10 minutes, 50 Bitcoins would be released into the market. So every 10 minutes, you would get 50 Bitcoins released, 50 Bitcoins released, 50 Bitcoins released. How are these Bitcoins released? They are released through a mining process. Remember, the whole idea of Bitcoin is that they are trying to base it upon the gold thing that we have. They're trying to make it seem like gold in a digital platform. So because you know that you have to dig for gold, you need a lot of energy. Similar thing with Bitcoin. You have to mine Bitcoin, and to mine Bitcoin, you need electricity and power. Back in the day in 2009, it was much easier to mine Bitcoin because there were not a lot of people in the system. It was just a few people, most of them nerds that were using the internet that were interested in this thing because no one could use it for anything. So it was very easy to mine Bitcoin. At that point, you could mine Bitcoin with your laptop. You could just buy whatever program software you needed to, upload it into your laptop, and then it would allow you to get onto the Bitcoin blockchain and mine Bitcoin. So like I said, at that time, there was no value. Now, we're going to get into the issue of price later. But at that time, Bitcoin was zero. No one knew about it. No one cared. 50 Bitcoins are released into the system. In 2012, that number of Bitcoins got halved, which is the system that Bitcoin uses. Deflationary, remember earlier, instead of currency where we print more and more of it, thus reducing the value, in the Bitcoin system, we release less and less every 4 years. So the first 4-year period ended in 2012. And instead of having 50 Bitcoins being released into the market, and who's releasing these Bitcoins? It's miners again. Who are these miners? This thing is all based in the internet, and it is based on an algorithm and on mathematics. No single individual or government is decreeing that Bitcoins must be released. It's a process that is all happening on the internet. So we went from 50 Bitcoins every 10 minutes to 25 Bitcoins every 10 minutes. Now that's 2012, 2013, 14, 15. And then in the middle of 16, because it went from the middle of 2012 to the middle of 2016, we had another halving from 25 Bitcoins to half of 25, which is 12.5 Bitcoins every 10 minutes. And then the next halving would then happen this year in May, where it went from 12.5 Bitcoins to half of that, which is 6.25 Bitcoins every 10 minutes. And that is going to happen again for another 4 years, and then it's going to go down. Another 4 years is going to go down until the last Bitcoin is mined in the year 2140, where all of us will not be alive, right? So that's how the system works. Instead of having the currency that is in circulation going up, in Bitcoin, you have the currency going down, which means the supply decreases every 4 years, while more and more people start learning and understanding Bitcoin, which drives the price extremely high. Basic Economics 101, right? Now, what is price and what does price tell us about things? So price tells you it's a communication tool between people. Price came about in a free market where it's not manipulated and it's not determined by central organizations. Price is determined by the interaction of supply and demand. So buyers and sellers go into a market. You will see these markets where you sell vegetables and whatnot, and they negotiate price. Whatever you agree with, whatever you agree upon is going to be the price that you guys exchange that good for. So price is a signal, it's a communication tool. It tells you something about something, right? What that something is depends on who you are, where you are, what you're looking for, and what your perception is. So as soon as Bitcoin moves from nothingness to 1 cent, that price is communicating something. It means that there's something there, but that thing is not valuable. No one should pay any attention to it because it's nothing, right? Just like when they first started Twitter, most of you will know Twitter. They didn't really know what to use it for. They just knew that we can post these things here, but we don't really see the value yet. But we know that there's something there, right? Only about 1,000 people were using it then. And then eventually they realized that, okay, instead of waiting for a journalist to investigate a story for a week and then post it to us, emergency situations can immediately be posted onto Twitter. And that can be very helpful because when people are traveling, they can't afford to wait for news to come 3 days later. They need to know now, and then it can help them plan. So that's where they were like, that's the value of Twitter. That's what we're going to use it for. Therefore, they built that platform and made it into what it is today. Whenever something happens, even today, like newspapers are useless because they pick things from Twitter and print them. Like, what's the point of going to read something or on a newspaper when I've already seen it on Twitter, right? So same thing. The value, people are looking for this value. Investors are looking for this value, right? Consumers are looking for this value, but we can't identify this value immediately. Most of us need people to find it first, fail first, and eventually find it and succeed, and then tell us about it, and then we can participate in it. So that's the importance of price in the Bitcoin space. Most people use price to manipulate people, right? They'll tell you, the price of this thing is going up, you need to get in now, and then you will make it. Any stock. The thing is, when it comes to the internet, because it's a completely new idea, and most importantly, it might potentially be something that none of us has ever seen before, we can't guarantee anything. And the way we value things is different in the internet than the traditional way of valuing things. People are still learning the internet. The internet is very, very young. The first business in the internet was started in 1995, 1996. That's less than the democracy in South Africa. So it's still very young. So the way that we do things in the internet is not fixed in stone. And we don't have principles that we can just go to and then understand how to value things in the internet. New products are born every day on the internet, and we have to find new ways of valuing them. That means even investors themselves have to find new ways of valuing them. So price is not only the only thing that you have to look at. There's fundamentals, things that you need to look at to say, is this thing valuable? Can it be useful for me? What can it help me do? Does it help me do something that I used to do much easier at a lesser cost, or what? You understand? So as soon as now someone uses Bitcoins to acquire something, now we'll go back to the concept that I spoke about last week, the characteristics of money. The first one that I spoke about is that it needs to be a medium of exchange. All right. Now I need something from you, and I say to you, look, I don't want to give you money. Maybe I don't have money at the time. I give you these Bitcoin. And I'm like, I'll just give you whatever number I decide. And then the first person said, I'll give you 10,000 Bitcoin, right? And then you can just give me 2 pizzas. Just get me 2 pizzas because I don't want to get out of my house and go get the pizzas. Order them for me, pay for them, and then send them to my house. I'll give you my address, and then I'll give you these 10,000 Bitcoin. And for whatever reason, the other person agreed. Like, it's not like he knew that I can take this 10,000 Bitcoin and exchange them for the money I spent on the pizza. So in actual fact, at the time, he lost money because he bought someone pizza without getting any money back because he wasn't sure what these 10,000 Bitcoin are worth. But if he kept those Bitcoin, he now has a lot of money after having spent very little buying 2 pizzas. Now, when someone starts doing that, we are now taking that medium of exchange, unit of account, fungibility thing. Okay, maybe the fungibility is not there yet, but the unit of account and the medium of exchange, we take those money characteristics, right? And then eventually, more and more people started exchanging this Bitcoin between themselves, and therefore, like I said, price is a communication signal. Then the price of Bitcoin started going up because more and more people are interacting with the system. And price is telling you that the value that is within this system is continuously growing. It might be growing slowly, but it's growing exponentially. Now, you guys, if you know mathematics, you will know that exponential graphs start off very low and flat, and then eventually shoot up dramatically. It's a similar thing to the price of Bitcoin. It started off very low, and then by the middle of 2011, the price had shot up from nothing in 2010 to almost $20 in June 2011. Now, that is a dramatic shift in any investment, in any opportunity, anywhere, whether traditional markets or digital markets. That type of growth is unprecedented and it's crazy. But just like any market, remember the business cycle that I spoke about? Every boom is followed by a bust. So whatever goes up must come down. So that price will eventually then come down. Now, does that price mean the value in Bitcoin has been lost or is no longer there? Not necessarily. It's communicating something else. It's communicating the responsibility of the people that are participating in the system. And therefore, like the business cycle, it's getting rid of those ones that don't understand the fundamentals and keeping those ones that understand the value that lies in this. That is the fundamental value, not just the price. By this, I mean, the fact that you can make money out of Bitcoin shouldn't be the only reason why you have Bitcoin. But the fact that you understand what Bitcoin is and what importance it is to society should be the main reason why you have Bitcoin. But that's not how the world works. We are attracted to things because of how much money we can make from them. And that's usually where we go first, right? So that's the communication that price will give us. That's why price continues going up and down, and then it represents what's happening in the market. So eventually we came from prices of 17 US dollars, it went to $100, 200, 300, 400, to eventually where it is today, which is 11,400 US dollars, right? Now, another thing that is important to us about price is the fact that in network marketing, people like signals. And I explained earlier that most people are in network marketing to make money. Now, you can't change people's mind if they are outside. Usually the way religion works is that the person has to go to church first so that they can hear the word of God. Once they've heard the word of God and they've heard the preacher preaching, there is potential for those people to change, right? But if you don't hear the word of God, if you don't hear the preacher preaching because you are not in the church, the likelihood of you changing and becoming a better person decreases dramatically. So what I'm saying to you today is that I explained to you that there are lots and lots of scams in this space. People are being taken advantage of because they don't understand money. They don't understand how to behave around money. They don't understand investments and how investments work. You and I have had these sessions and you understand and you can see our intentions are pure. We are also in this Bitcoin space and we know and understand when we go into Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. People have lots and lots of questions. People are confused. They don't understand what this Bitcoin thing is. And no one is out there who cares enough is trying to explain this to people without having to extort money out of them, right? But now again, you need to know that it's much easier to start smoking than it is to quit. You can start smoking because your friends are doing it. It's not a logical explanation or it's not a logical reason to do it, but you can start it and it's very easy to start smoking. But when you have to quit it because you are addicted to it, it's a very difficult process to quit. So what I'm saying with that is that it's not going to be easy for people to come to us simply because we have the right information, simply because we have the right intentions. Now that's where price becomes an important object or tool for us. Whenever price of Bitcoin starts doing something, right? People who don't care, who never even paid attention will start asking you questions in your office, in your family, anywhere around you, on your social media. You'll start hearing people asking you, what is this Bitcoin thing? What does it do? How can I make money? Right? Now that's where you get those people to come to a platform like this, RubyLux Talk, where you know they will get the right information and they can participate in acquiring and earning this Bitcoin in a better and more safer and more honest way. During the process of them coming here, they will also learn more about the entire financial sector, about finance in general, which is much more beneficial than just making money out of Bitcoin. Because like I said earlier when I started this presentation, we need to be very careful in how we approach this subject nowadays, because we need to make sure that everyone understands what this thing is, what it means, not only for the world, but most importantly for individual sovereignty. Now, individual sovereignty, simply explained, is freedom, individual freedom. Your ability to do whatever you like to do whenever you like to do it because you're an adult and you do that in the economic system, is a freedom that is now under threat. We've lived in a world today, in a social media world, where you can't speak your mind without being attacked. If you say something that has been deemed to be politically incorrect, you get cancelled on social media. People will start saying derogatory things, disrespecting you, canceling you, all those kind of things. Because these days, it's not much easy for people to interact with an open mind and to express ideas, which is what freedom is about. You guys need to remember that before missionaries came to Africa, before Arabs colonized Africans, we did not have centralized systems. We did not have centralized governing systems. Our systems of government included everyone, even children, right? As African people. So we were living in a free environment where decision making, yes, it had tiers, and you had to go past certain things to be able to make certain decisions in society, but we all agreed upon the system that we are all using to make these decisions. That is where true and honest democracy comes from. This new democracy that we have in this Western world is not actual democracy. It's just abuse. It's a facade that people are giving you. Simple example, America is one country that loves invading countries under the pretense of wanting those people to have democracy, when America itself is not a democracy. Most people don't know that. Most people are not aware of it. If you read the Constitution of the USA, there's no word called democracy in there. Nowhere at all. It's not present in that document. The establishing and founding papers of the USA don't have anything that has to do with democracy, the word democracy. But they then claim that they will take democracy to people across the world. You understand what I'm saying? It's a concept that is very misleading. And what we are trying to do here is to make you aware what's happening in your world so that you can preserve your individual freedom. Now, today we have a pandemic that is running rampant across the world. Whether it's true or not, the approach that these people are having is very abusive and it's not progressive at all, because you can't, some of us have questions that are necessary to be answered, because you can't just force people to do certain things because you have power as a government without explaining why people are doing those things. When you're going to lock down an entire country and close businesses, especially in a continent like Africa, you have to have at least the decency to explain to people in a sensible and logical way why it's necessary to do that. Because some of us really did not agree with the lockdowns because they didn't make any sense whatsoever, scientifically and otherwise. Now today, you have the World Health Organization coming back to say they apologize for having encouraged lockdowns because they were a mistake. It was a mistake. They now realize that it was a mistake. But that's the problem, though. 8 months later, you are coming back to say it was a mistake to lock down countries. But like, we can't get the 8 months back. Do you understand that we can't get the businesses that have closed down back? Do you understand that most people have lost their lives because of those businesses closing down, because they couldn't afford food? Do you understand how many families have been destroyed as a result of that? Because you didn't consider the decisions that you were making. You just ran and wanted to make decisions immediately and abuse your power without thinking or listening to the citizens. That's the problem with today's world. The interaction that we are having in the spaces that we are in is not healthy for anyone, right? We can't just cancel people. But now we have that culture. So we have those of us who want to have open minds and who want to be able to live freely have to defend the freedom that we have. And Bitcoin is a critical part of us defending that freedom. Because last week on the 15th, an abusive global institution called the International Monetary Fund, which is an oppressive governing institution formed by Europeans to usurp and steal from Africans, announced on Wednesday that because of the pandemic, which is a lie, we know I explained to you what has happened in the past 10 years in the last video. That is the reason why the economy is collapsing. That is the reason why banks are facing a collapse. That is the reason why the financial system is going to collapse. It has nothing to do with coronavirus. It has everything to do with the recklessness, the reckless behavior, the currency printing, the lies, and basically just the irresponsible running of the financial system in the past 10 years after the 2008-2009 collapse. It has nothing to do with coronavirus. But anyway, they used coronavirus just like they used World War II in 1944, because for them to bring the Bretton Woods system that I spoke about last week, they used their war as an excuse, right? To make sure that they take gold out of everyone's eyes, out of the picture. Now today, they are saying, hey, we need a new Bretton Woods system. We need a renegotiation of the Bretton Woods system. When you go back to the World Bank's website, the IMF, the Federal Reserve in the United States, you realize that these people are looking into cryptocurrencies, and they've been doing so for the past 3-4 years. And in about 2018, 2019, countries like China, the USA, IMF, and World Bank started announcing that they will start to try to build their own digital currencies. Last year, we heard that Facebook wants to build their own digital currency. And then you heard a lot of governments were saying that's not going to happen. I'd like you guys to pay attention to this, because these are very, very important things that are taking place in the world. If we don't pay attention to, we might just end up in the dark. So why would governments say Facebook can't start their own cryptocurrency? Currency is a very important tool. It's a tool of control. It's a tool of power. If they allow Facebook to successfully start their own cryptocurrency, it's not going to be like a Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a decentralized system, right? Where people can do whatever they want to do. No one is controlling us here. No one is telling us how to behave. But Facebook is already telling you how to behave, whether you know it or not. They are manipulating your behavior, consciously or otherwise, whether you are aware of it or not. But they are manipulating your behavior. Now imagine if they are the controllers of the money that you have to use in order to do whatever you need to do in the world. We already know that they can lock your account for 3 months for saying something or posting something that they don't like. We already know that they can suspend your account, all sorts of things. Now imagine that Facebook is allowed to establish their own currency. How many users does Facebook have? They have about 2.5 billion users across the world. It's the biggest social media platform on earth, the most powerful social media platform on earth. If those people have a currency, no government will have a say in anything that goes on in this planet, because if Mark Zuckerberg doesn't agree, there's nothing you can do. Your country only has 4 million people. That's their population. This one has 38 million people. Mark Zuckerberg has 2.5 billion. Whatever currency you have, if Mark Zuckerberg says you can't use that currency if you want to participate in Libra as a Facebook user, that currency dies immediately. So governments saw this as a threat, and they were like, there's no way this is going to happen. We are not going to allow this to happen. Facebook, to this day, they're still fighting, trying to make it happen. But it's probably they're never going to allow them to do it. But now they realized in that Facebook stunt that they can do it themselves. So they can establish their own digital currency that is centralized, unlike Bitcoin. Centralized simply just means it is controlled by a central entity like the government or the central bank. Bitcoin, like I explained when I started this presentation, is decentralized. It is not controlled by any individual or a group of people or a government or a central bank, right? So the government said, we can build our own currency. We already have an electronic currency, which means through the credit cards, debit cards, and your phone, you can pay using your rands electronically. So let's just extend that and say we're going to take this electronic currency and make it digital. But a digital currency means that we can program this thing. So a simple example is South Africa starts their own digital currency, and they say this is how they're going to get people to use it, right? Okay, let me use America because they are already in the process of doing this. So Trump says, oh my God, there's a pandemic that's happening in the world. Lots and lots of people are losing their jobs. Lots and lots of people are losing their livelihoods. People can't pay rent. People are now living in the streets because housing has become very, very unaffordable. This is another subject that I was going to talk about, that I'm preparing to talk about next week, just to expand on this inflation thing of where you see inflation and how inflation is a silent tax, I can call it that. But I'll explain that and I'll expand on that next week. So now people can't afford housing. People are suffering. People don't have jobs. Businesses have closed down. Obviously, we need currency in order to live. So the government will come to you and say, look, first thing we're going to do is reduce interest rates so that those who have money in the banks are incentivized to take that money out and spend it. If that doesn't work, which it didn't work in Europe and America because they are already close to zero. Some of the countries are already in negative territory when it comes to interest rates. So they are like, okay, the next thing that we can do is let's just give people money. Let's just give them currency. So we're going to create this currency and give it to people. The president of the US then said, the plan that we have, that was in mid-June or something. It was about 2 or 3 months after the coronavirus thing hit the world. Donald Trump then comes and announces and says, we're going to give every single individual in the country $1,200 for the next six months while we are dealing with this pandemic. Now, $1,200 is a lot of money. Understand that about 70 to 75% of the working population in the United States of America work minimum wage jobs. The minimum wage is less than $1,200 per month. So even those ones who still had jobs, quit them. Because it's much more beneficial to stay at home and wait for that check from the government at the end of the month, because it's much higher than what you would be earning anyway if you were doing your job, right? So he gives them the money for about 3 or 4 months. It didn't happen for 6 months, exactly how he said it would, so that people can get used to it. And then all of a sudden it stops. Now they are focusing on this whole election cycle and whatnot. And then he makes an announcement last month to say the next cycle of 1,200 euros is going to happen, but the way we are going to give it to you will require you to download an app that has been created by the Federal Reserve Bank, which is the central bank of the United States of America. Now, do you understand that they have gotten people used to getting this money for free in the past 3 or 4 months? Again, changing people's behavior without people seeing it. And then again, you can't blame people because people need that money so that they can buy food and pay rent, right? So now the government says, now you're going to be required. If you want this 1,200, you're going to be required to download the app from the Federal Reserve. Now, the Federal Reserve is not going to give you 1,200 US dollars. They're going to give you 1,200 Fed coin dollars. That's a new digital currency that the Federal Reserve has created. Now, that digital currency is programmable. As soon as you download the app into your phone, they have access to your phone, they have access to the information, they have access to the things that you use that money for, because you will be paying with that app, right? So now they will have something called social points. If you say something about homosexuals, most Africans generally don't agree with homosexuality. So let's just say you are in Uganda and you don't agree with homosexuality, and you tweet something like that, and your central banks has given you that currency. That's the only money you have. Your job pays you in those coins, and the shops that you buy from accept only those coins. Now you say something that people don't agree with on social media, and then now a very special and very painful thing can happen, because they can program each coin. They don't have to punish the whole world in order to punish you. They can punish you by yourself. So instead of having inflation for everyone, you will have your own privatized, individual, selfish inflation delivered to you by the government for free. Because you misbehaved, you tweeted things that we don't agree with, the 100 Fed coin that you have in your app is now worth 50 Fed coin. Just like that. Just because they subtracted the points. Remember earlier I was speaking about freedom and what money is. Last week I was speaking about power and money being a system of control. Now it is really going to be a system of control. Another thing that they can do in order to make this sound more sensible is they can take that Fed coin and say it will be backed by gold and silver. Why am I saying that? Since 2016-17, actually since 2015, Russia, China, and some European central banks have been buying lots and lots of gold. Lots and lots of gold, right? Now, when people start buying gold, gold is a reserve currency, is a safe haven. It means that they can see that the system, or the financial system that they currently have, is probably facing a collapse. So therefore, they need to go back to real money, which is gold and silver. So Russia and China they have been buying lots of gold and silver. Right now, last week, the IMF has called for a meeting for a renegotiation of the Bretton Woods monetary system, which is based on Keynesian economics, which I explained last week. That's what we are currently operating under. They want to change that, taking it to the next level. I want to give you a tidbit, something that most people didn't know, and I didn't speak about last week when I spoke about Bretton Woods. Maynard Keynes, John Maynard Keynes, the economist I spoke about, who brought this thing of fiscal policy into being, who's the one who was also the leading economist in the negotiation of the Bretton Woods system in 1944. He actually is the first economist in the world to suggest a one world currency. So he came up with this idea in 1944 and they refused, because countries were like, no. If we come up with just one currency for the whole world, now who's going to control it? Because whoever controls it will now control the whole world. So they said the compromise is that we can make the US dollar the global reserve currency and then peg all our currencies to it, but we'll still have our own currency still existing. So now, years later, more than 70 years later, actually, no, almost 70 years later, they are going back to what Keynes suggested, which was building this one global currency. But they are doing it indirectly, because now the IMF, World Bank probably will issue their own coins. And then when you as an African country go and borrow money from the IMF, they will lend you that money through their own coin. Same thing with the World Bank, right? So they're going to that system now that was suggested back in 1944. We already know how IMF and World Bank have enslaved Africans and African countries and have taken African countries into the darkness in terms of how they've usurped resources, how they've destroyed governments by attaching requirements to their loans that they give to Africans. In the announcement that they spoke about last week, they spoke about sub-Saharan Africa again. And clearly it's our target, because they're making a lot of money. Again, when they borrow you $1 in Africa, you pay back $4 to the IMF and the World Bank. So they're making a lot of money out of African countries. Whether that money worked to do what it was supposed to do or not, they don't care. Whether the economics developed, whether poverty was reduced, whether inequality was reduced, they don't care. But they base their lending of money to African countries on those forecasts and predictions. Another simple example, before I come to a close, the IMF and the World Bank have made about 220 GDP forecasts and predictions since their founding. I want you to understand this. Almost all global finance policy is based on the forecasts that are made by these organizations, which means the money that they give out, the money that comes in, the agreements that they have with countries, the coups that happen to remove and put presidents, all these massive global decisions that happen are based mainly on the policies that these organizations come up with. Where do they take these policies? From the forecasts that they make. So in this world today, they have made 220 GDP predictions and forecasts. Can anyone guess how many times were those forecasts correct? Can anyone just guess? You can type it in the chat or you can unmute yourself and tell me. I just want to see. 220, it's a lot. These people have meetings every year. Sometimes they have more than one meeting. And then they predict GDP numbers for the world. They don't only predict for countries. So they predict for the whole world, and then they predict for continents like emerging markets, like the African continent. So how many of you can guess, out of the 220 times, how many times have they gotten the forecasts correct? Why are you guys not interactive today? Come on, just guess. You don't have to be right. I just want to see how much confidence you guys have in these organizations. Come on, anyone? I won't continue unless someone guesses. Exactly. You are okay. Yeah, clearly we are the same. You guys don't have any confidence in these people. So exactly right. Out of this 220 predictions, 0 of them have been correct. But policies that have shifted how the world works were based on those predictions and forecasts. So again, now they are going to go and do a renegotiation, probably go back to the gold standard and then attach digital currencies to the gold and silver. We don't know what will happen, and we don't know when this is coming. It was sooner than I was expecting, which means we need to spread the fire of Bitcoin as quick as possible, as efficiently and as effectively as possible. So we need to grow Relax and build our business so that we can acquire as much Bitcoin as possible. Again, just like last week, I hope I've given you value. I hope that you learned something new that you didn't know today, whether it's about the IMF, whether it's about Bitcoin itself, whether it's about finance or business, but most importantly, even if it's about just network marketing itself. And I hope that you will take this valuable information and exchange it to people that you will encounter and potential prospects that will be part of this business. Like I said, this is the platform where we give true information that is valuable in an attempt to help you and yours plan for the future that is coming, the future that will potentially be extremely painful because of the collapse that is coming, which will be greater and much worse than the 2008 and 2009. It will destroy a lot of wealth, destroy a lot of businesses, destroy a lot of jobs. But if you are prepared, you will become very wealthy. All right. My name is Kitumezi Biko. See you guys again on Thursday for the global presentation of Relax. Please invite as many people as you possibly can. See you guys again on Saturday for the Africa Dialogue. You guys from Ghana, Kenya, Tanzania, Nigeria, and all other countries in the continent, please continue to invite your people. This is a train that is already in motion. Be a part of it and call your friends and partners and whoever to come and be a part of it. Don't leave them out, because we are going to be extremely successful. We are very determined, and as you can see, we are very clear-minded, and we understand the environment and the industry that we operate in. So there's no way that we're going to fail. So it can only be beneficial for you to join us. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. And just like last week, I'm finished with the presentation.